So, guys, what we're looking for is the intersection between number one and number two. All right. What skills do you possess to solve something you identified in number one? What problem can you solve given your skill set? If you can find that, that's the holy grail. That's what I want you to spend most of session two thinking about. Remember, this is think. This is the think session. All right. This is what most people truly suck at. All right. We have lost the ability to think in our world. We don't teach it much anymore or at all. Our universities don't even teach it. So, teaching someone how to think through a problem, how to identify a problem, and then match your skills and desires to fill that. That's what you're up against in session number two. Be aware of, avoid, stay away from these bullshit things like do what you love and the money will follow. I'd like to shoot that guy. I don't even know who said it, but I'd still like to shoot him. That's bullshit. All right. Maybe that's what you tell an 8-year-old. I don't know. I love baseball. We'll play baseball and the money will follow. I want to be a singer. I want to be a dancer and the money will follow. Maybe Taylor Swift, who hasn't come by the paddock in a while, would say, well, thank God I followed my heart because, there's one of her, right? 8 billion people on the planet. There's 100 of them. I don't even know. I'm just saying, if you're going to listen to me or follow my life, follow my style, that whole side of I scrape that shit out. All right. Don't follow your heart all by itself. If your heart is behind one of your skills that can fill a problem or fill a hole or fix a problem as identified by the buyers, now we're talking. Okay. So you can drop that spice into the stew if you want, as long as it lines up with the other two. All right. So I'll tell you a story from my life. I had a passion. When I turned 16, I climbed Mount Rainier for the first time. I grew up in a town called Everett, Washington. It's 30 miles north of Seattle. It's 110 miles from Mount Rainier, but you could still see it. And I spent all my childhood in the woods and climbing the Cascade Range, Mount Pilchuck, Mount Index. I even climbed Mount Olympus in the Olympic chain, and I climbed Mount Baker. But as a kid, I saw Mount Rainier out my window. And when I turned 16, that's how old you have to be to climb it on your own with the guide service. So when I turned 16, I signed up and I went and climbed Mount Rainier. I climbed it every year after that. In fact, I started taking my own parties up, became a bit of a guide. And I've probably climbed it 20, 30 times. I don't even know. So I went into college thinking, I want to do something in the mountains. I want to be a national park ranger. But I didn't want to carry a gun. At the time, that wasn't important to me when I was 17, 18. I wanted to be a park ranger. I wanted to be someone who did those campfire stories. And so it turns out they're called a naturalist. So I went in and I said, hey, I want to be a national park naturalist. It's still called a park ranger, and I got into college and I took my first geology class, which is the track towards the kind of degree that they wanted. But that, I think it was spring of my freshman year of college, I looked up the pay scales, and park ranger geologists were starting at something like 18 grand a year. That was it for me. I wasn't solving a big enough problem. That's not what I said. I said I'm not going to be making enough money. So I killed it and went on to computer science, and the rest is history. But I went with my dream, and if I had followed my dream, follow my heart and the money would follow, that's not true. So I'm not belittling if that's the money you make and that you're happy with that. That's fantastic. It just wasn't for me. And so there's an example where I had to kill that bumper sticker and move on. So I just want to give you one real world example from my life where follow your heart and the money will follow, or do what you love and the money will follow, was complete bullshit. That just wasn't going to work in my life. All right, guys, let's talk about let's put up some Jersey barriers about where I wouldn't wander into. There's some areas I would not wander into until you've got 2 or 3 of these income streams running, okay? And we'll talk about that someday, session 50 or something. For the purposes of this reboot, I would advise you stay away from certain things. I would advise you to stay away from bars and restaurants. Unless you can find an example that you can model yourself after, bars and restaurants don't make money. Wow, that's crazy talk. I'm telling you, bars and restaurants don't make money. By the time they pay their lease and all their costs and their employee costs and their electricity costs and their license fees and their alcohol taxes and all this other shit, the owner has very little money to take home. So just be aware of that. Now, if you find somebody that you can go talk to and they become your mentor and they own a restaurant and they want to counsel you, maybe they'll show you their books. But without proof, beware. I want nothing to do with either of those industries. All right, here's another Jersey wall. Try to avoid saying, well, I'm going to create something from scratch. I'm going to create something that's never existed before. I don't even know what it'd be. I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible at the creation process. I have no artist. I mean, my God, guys, I felt good doing this. Okay. This is artistic for me. This is creation for me. Okay. So I can't advise you down that road, but I would advise you that saying you're going to create something that's never existed before because you have this brilliant idea and you're going to make it happen. No, don't do it. They rarely work and they rarely generate revenue and they almost never generate profit. All right. Now, there are geniuses out there that have patents and they make money on patents. Okay. But again, it's the Taylor Swift example. There's 8 billion people on the planet and maybe 100 have gotten rich on a patent. I mean, I don't really know the numbers, but I would advise you to not go down that road until you have an income stream or two. And if you're this creative genius, maybe you can sell patents. I don't know. Or maybe you'll come up with a great patent and sell your first one and make $1 million. I don't know. I just would not advise you to go down that road. I think I'm projecting me onto you, but I'm just saying it. I don't think. So the quote I wanted to say here comes from the movie Moneyball. At the end of the movie, Billy is getting advice from the owner of the Boston Red Sox. The first one through the wall usually gets bloody. Okay? In my opinion, usually the first man through the wall gets bloody and dead, or bloody and stepped over, or bloody and idea stolen. So just be aware. That's a Jersey wall I would put up. Restaurants, bars, create something that's never existed before, make it happen, manifest it, start making money, create a business around it, start bringing in revenue, and then make it profitable. Those are the 3 I would stay away from for your reboot. Not for your whole life, maybe, but for your reboot. One more Jersey wall. Try to avoid a business that it can't grow beyond the hours you put into it. Like a one-man law firm is a good example. It's where you bill by the hour, where you bill by the job. Lawn service is another example, except it doesn't restrict you to just you. You can add an employee. Same with the lawyer, by the way. A law practice, you could add a second attorney. Maybe you're not even an attorney. You're hiring attorneys to be your rainmakers, right? So you could do it. I'm just saying, be aware or beware of businesses that rely, you only get paid when it's you working the hour. I'll give you a great example. God, I always have examples. Thank God. My house cleaner, Marva, I've known her longer than my children. If she called in sick today and is going to make no money, okay? If she doesn't go to work, she doesn't make money. She has no one working for her. So just, that's a really good example, because this happens to her a lot. Got a doctor appointment, got to cancel the house, doesn't make any money. Car breaks down, got to cancel the house, doesn't make any money. Sick kid, cancel the house, not make any money. See what I'm saying? When you don't go to work, you don't make money. If you take a week off, so I did this. Guys, I was a one-man show for 5 years. The most expensive part of a vacation is you taking a week off and not billing. Because if you're billing at $100 or $200 an hour, 40 hours is a pretty big nut to break. That doesn't even start paying for the vacation. That's just what you're not going to earn. So just be aware. This is the last one, by the way. So bars, restaurants, breakthroughs, hourly rate where you're the only one making money. That's it. That's it for Jersey Walls, I believe. So let's say you found it. You have an idea now, right? You've done the work. You've thought about the holes, the problems. You've matched it up to your skills and passions and capabilities. It's not in one of the Jersey Wall areas. So you got it. There's a couple other questions we should ask now. Is there an example of this solution out there? Maybe not in your neighborhood or really close to you, but do you know somebody or do you know a business that is successfully doing what you're about to attempt? Do you have a role model is my actual question. If not, if you're trying to create it on your own with no one out in front of you, that can be tough. Not impossible. It's easier if you have an advisor, right? Large companies have board of advisors. Really big companies have boards of directors. And they are to give direction to the CEO to move the company around. You need the same thing. You maybe need a financial advisor, a banking advisor, a legal advisor, a contract advisor, a business advisor, right? You don't pay them, you don't make them part of your company, but they're people you call, they're people you email. Is there a role model that you can throw a lasso around and kind of have them pull you along a little bit? That makes it easier. That makes your projected idea even better. And this is really more for the planning session, but I got to get it in your head. Do you have the startup cash to make this happen? Even if you're going to be a mechanic and work it out of your garage, you still need tool sets and lifts and fluids and whatever. You have to have the ability to get the business off the ground. Do you have the cash literally in your account, right? Not coming someday, I'll get my bonus, I'll get a raise, I'll save it, whatever. Do you have the startup cash, right? So that kind of goes in like, do you have an advisor? Do you have the startup cash? Just put that in your brain. All right. So now take the Jersey Walls off. What areas would, if it was me doing it, would I look into? I would look into the tech world. So I would look into the online world. Now I'm old, so maybe you should ask your kids, but I'll give you 3 examples. Amazon affiliate. Yeah, there are millions of them. There's probably tens of millions of them. And if you get good at it, Amazon does steal some of your shit and starts doing it on their own and cut you out, right? But that's a success story. That's like my income tax is too high. Well, that means you're making a lot of money, so it's not all that bad. If Amazon's got you in their sites, you've probably made your money. So plus you can start at home. It's online. A lot of times you can do direct ship. I'm not an expert. I haven't done it, but it intrigues me, and it's something I've looked into a little bit. The other is cell technology. It's in the U.S. and the civilized world. It's really a big part of our society. In the third world, it is the basis of society. I mean, Africa, I think, does almost everything on their cell networks because they have no cabled infrastructure. And that's painting with a broad brush. And I know it's not completely appropriate, but don't get too hung up on it. Online sales, cell technology, possible franchise. That's the third one. Is there something like, I'll give you an example, a UPS store. We have a UPS store in my little town, and there's a line out the door most of the time. And I don't think that's going to go away. Amazon sales, if you can do good online sales, I don't think that's going away. Now we're headed into we talked about this yesterday, it's the toughest global economic environment to start a reboot. All right. So that transitions into thinking, and that transitions into planning, and it may slow down your results or thin down your margins. Okay. That doesn't mean don't do it, by the way. So those are the areas I would drive into when I'm trying to identify a problem. Online shipping, some sort of cell technology, maybe even a cell franchise. I don't know. And then the third is an actual franchise. Now, I'll warn you, I've had a friend that had 17 Burger Kings, okay? And my attorney represents a group that owns 75 Taco Bells. Franchises aren't generally overly profitable when you own one. You have to get into the 3, 5, 10 range. And to make life-changing wealth, generational wealth, you've probably got to get into the 10s and 20s. The first one's the hardest one. If you can make some money on it, I think using the profit from the first one to buy the second one, and the profit from the first and second to buy the third, and then pretty soon you can start taking profit home and still buy the fourth. Not easy. Franchises get robbed a lot. They have a lot of employee theft. It's hard to find employees. You have to pay them better than you want to, so it thins out your margin. But they bring a ready-made environment. I look very seriously into McDonald's. And the reason I didn't buy McDonald's was, at the time, is probably 20 years ago, their requirement was the owner had to be in the building full time, and I just didn't have the lifestyle. I couldn't put up with that. So anyway, online sales, cell technology, franchising. Those are the three I would look into as part of a reboot to build a second income stream or rebuild my primary. All right, guys, and then I'm coming to the end. I want to wrap this up by reiterating it's about what they want, not what you want. All right? What is the marketplace? You're creating income, you're creating a business, and business is defined by clients and what clients are willing to pay for. I've told this story before. I've got a great couple that is some of our really close friends. They moved out to the middle of nowhere. All right. But they both had passion. One had a passion for used books, and he opened up a used bookstore because he loved it. He had a passion for it. She had a passion for tea rooms, English tea rooms. She always wanted one, so she created a business, an English tea room, in this tiny little town out in the middle of nowhere in Maryland. I mean, both crashed, both cratered. They weren't filling holes, right? They were doing what they wanted to do. That is dangerous. That is an absolute recipe for infant mortality. You won't even make it through your first year if you're doing everything by what I want to do versus what you're being told by the world they're willing to pay for. So I'm going to end it there because I want that to be the thing you remember. It's what the marketplace wants. It's the hole. It's the need. It's the thing that's not here. It's the thing you're hearing multiple people talk about that they would be willing to pay for. Guys, that's it. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get this thing assembled and get it loaded up. Today's Thursday. Hope you're having a good one. Tomorrow's Freedom Friday. We will be participating. And hopefully, maybe tomorrow will be a double video. We'll do a Freedom Friday video, and then we'll do session number 3, the planning, the how of this whole thing. Thanks, you guys. As always, I hope this is helping. Bye, you guys. Guys, I'm going to break back in and end the video with 2 other stories that I think directly from my life that have impact here. One is I ran for and got elected to the Board of County Commissioners here in Calvert County in 1998. And I was pretty young back then. In fact, I was the youngest guy elected to that position in the history of the county by 20 years maybe. And why did I do that? I wasn't trying to reboot at the time, but everywhere I went, every time I went out for a meal or to the grocery store or at my own table when the whole family came in for Thanksgiving was kind of my example. Went to a movie. Anytime I went anywhere, people were bitching and complaining that the leadership of the county was out of date and running the county like it was 1800. And there was I could just feel this groundswell after hearing this several hundred times. We need new leadership in this county. Somebody has to step up and run this place like a modern county and not like a farm. And that just, boom, finally it broke through to me. I like elected politics. I liked serving. I've got lots of serving stories that maybe we'll tell someday. But there's an example where they beat into my head that the marketplace was ready for a new kind of leader. And I jumped on it. Everyone laughed at me. Even my wife said, well, go ahead, piss a year of your life away running for office. I even had somebody ask me, how long have you lived here? I said, well, I've been in the county 7 years. And he said, my God, dude, we've been here 7 generations. All right. But I was high vote getter. I took the position because I filled a need. The second story I want to tell you is my daughter, Lauren. She is going to school in Sarasota. She will be a computer animation specialist. I think she's going to make movies, but we'll see. She grew up having 2 loves of her life. This is the passion part of this conversation. She had a passion for horses, and she had a passion for drawing as an artist. Neither make money. I own a horse farm. We finally got to the point where it's not an alligator. It runs itself money-wise now. But we take no money from it. And then artists. I mean, the term is out there for a reason. The starving artist, right? And so my daughter was able to listen to the world, though, and say, Dad, I think I can take my drawing skills and my passion for art and convert it into the computer. And now she does everything. She did all her drawings. By the time she graduated from high school, she did it. She still drew for herself with her charcoals and pencils and paints, but she became an expert at doing it online. She could draw anything on paper and then absolutely do the exact same thing on a drawing tablet. She then found, I'm going to tell you that story later, but she then found the top 3 schools that Disney and those kind of companies hire from. And Disney said, we hire all of our new hires for artists from 3 schools. Well, she applied to those 3 schools, and she got into the number 1 that Disney hires from. That's her true drive. She wants to go work for a company doing computer animation. Turns out there's also the gaming industry is desperate for these people, and the medical field is even more desperate for this skill set. All of the surgical training now is done online. All medical patents have to have full animation of the product or the procedure. So organs have to be digitized. The procedure has to be drawn. So there are now 3 markets that my daughter can take her love of art and move in and fill a problem, fill a hole. Sorry, I just want to add that 2 real world solutions of how out there drove decisions we made. Sorry about the break in.